Good evening. We are here with Dr. Satish Gopal, who is the director of UNC Project Malawi, member UNC Lineberger Comprehensive Cancer Center in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. He's a medical oncologist and associate professor at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. We're fortunate for him to be here, and I would like to share some of his thoughts about the program today, the TGIF. So, how did you hear about TGIF?
I was contacted by email. I think we've worked closely with the National Cancer Institute and Kishore Bhatia in particular, and so I think as the conference was developing, he and Mandar had asked about my interest in participating, which was a sort of different and unique opportunity from many other meetings that I attend. So I was obviously delighted to come.
And so, having attended the meeting the first day, how do you think it was? Was it as per your expectations? So give me your thoughts on the experience today.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. I think the obviously it's really exciting to have such kind of energy from different sectors, and clearly a lot of talent and brain power and resources within the same room, kind of talking to each other. I think that. Hopefully will lead to kind of collaborations and synergies that often aren't possible. I mean, I come from an academic background, so I go to a lot of cancer research meetings where there's a sort of particular ilk. It's generally cancer clinical and translational investigators, which is sort of more or less what I do. So I think it's fun and interesting, and certainly has generated some ideas about possibilities just to kind of be around other stakeholders. People who venture capitalists, and I think it's an interesting kind of dynamic, and certainly, hopefully will provide an ecosystem, as you all say, to kind of, get some of these people talking together and generating positive change.
So I think you're right. The previous speaker was just mentioning that this is not a scientific conference; is more of a stakeholder conference where all aspects, including business and the feasibility and research and clinical work, is being discussed. So, what are your thoughts on the VCR Park and the Alexis platform that you heard from Himabindu?
I mean, I think it's a great concept. Certainly there are many examples both within India and around the world where again it's not so much about the park or what it's called or where it is, right? It's the idea. It's allocating appropriate space and resources and attracting talent that can with sort of a unified mission to sort of accomplish something concrete. I mean, we have many examples of this in the U.S., including at my university. So I think if you're, I think trying to achieve something similar in this environment where clearly you have a lot of, talented people and resources around this specific problem of cancer, I think makes a lot of sense. And I think it's exciting to sort of obviously it's at an early stage, so I think it's exciting to see where this goes and what it leads to. But I think it seems like there's a lot of a lot depends on kind of what the momentum is like over the next few years. But you can't sort of even take those steps if you don't have a foundation and interest and enthusiasm, and clearly you have those things. So it'll be really interesting to see where this goes.
So, could you comment a little bit about how the UNC in Malawi experience was there, and how you were a part of it, and what kind of challenges you faced, and any similarities, any advice based on that experience for us?
Yeah, so I work for the University of North Carolina, which is the oldest public university in the U.S., and the Lineberger Comprehensive Cancer Center, which is one of the kind of foremost cancer centers in the U.S. And actually, one of my close mentors and our former cancer center director recently was named as the NCI director and was sworn in 3 months ago. Ned Sharpless, who manages, probably many people consider that to be the most important cancer-related job in the world, with an annual budget of $5.4 billion. So, and he is someone that I am very close with, have continued to be in close touch with, and I think he and other university leadership have been very supportive of a long-standing engagement of the university in Malawi, which is one of the poorest countries in the world, over many decades. We are a public health university. We have a huge global footprint, and much of that is concentrated in Malawi, where I think for, again, 3 decades we've been working to generate globally impactful science, build local capacity, and contribute to care, in an environment where resources are limited, much like India, but to a substantially greater degree. I mean, I think many of the problems are similar, but the number of people, the available resources are just it's even exponentially different than India would be. And so I think, trying to understand how kind of high level scientific and technical expertise from a place like UNC and from our cancer center can contribute to what's happening on the ground in Malawi, trying to develop a sort of scientific and humanitarian agenda that are overlapping, that both parties can agree to, because the viewpoints are very different often. And so trying to get, again, world-renowned scientists at UNC, as well as ministry stakeholders in Malawi, to kind of coalesce around a shared agenda that includes care and research is tricky, and I think is something that we have worked very hard at and continue to work at on a daily basis. And so I think there may be some lessons there as you try to kind of generate a similar sort of momentum here.